I'm not your average trash collector. I don't drive a big, loud truck that has a special arm on it that picks up a garbage bin and dumps it without me ever having to leave the truck. No, I work for a property management company that contracts trash collection with different apartment complexes around where I live in Birmingham, Alabama. People set their trash bags outside their apartment doors at night, and then I come onto the property with my personal truck and gather it. Once my truck is full, I haul the garbage to the huge on-site compactors, which are emptied once every week and taken to the landfill. Most nights, it's a fairly peaceful job. I listen to music or podcasts or audiobooks as I make my rounds. But last night was a different story altogether. The apartment complex I was working at is called Wildflower Apartments, and there are over 200 units on the sprawling property. I was working at Building 6 when I heard a commotion from nearby. I only had one earbud in, so I could hear anything else going on. I learned that lesson when I nearly got run over by some drunken idiot when I was hauling a load to my truck. The commotion sounded like a door slamming, and then bare feet slapping the sidewalk or asphalt. Carrying 4 trash bags from Building 6, I moved back toward my truck, looking around. I didn't see anyone out and about, and it was nearing 2 in the morning, which was usually a pretty quiet time. I could no longer hear the running footsteps, so I shrugged the noise off and continued on my way. I tossed the trash bags into the bed of my truck and then went back to gather the rest from Building 6. After finishing with 6, I moved to 7 and went to gather the upstairs trash bags first. As I came back to my truck, I saw a blur of movement out of the corner of my eye. I could have sworn it was someone ducking behind the building. I dropped the bags in my right hand and took my single earbud out. A dog barked in the distance. Air conditioners hummed. Crickets chirped. Pocketing the earbud, I picked the bags back up and tossed them into the back of the truck without looking. My vision was fixed on the corner of the building where I thought I'd seen movement. Even though I had some room in the back of the truck, I decided to take the load to the compactors right then. I was feeling creeped out and wanted to get out of the area for a few minutes. I hoped it would help. I got in and started the truck. As I drove out past the building, I looked down the side, expecting to see someone hiding in the shadows there. I saw nothing but the side of the building, no boogeymen hiding out. Winding my way through the apartment complex, I came to the compactors, which were at the back of the property, near the maintenance sheds, and as far away from the buildings as you could get. In fact, there was a nice swath of trees on both sides of the road, separating the area from the rest of the property. I pulled up the wide ramp that was in front of the compactors, making it easy for me to just toss the trash in. Without the ramp, I would have had to toss the trash up and in, but this way, I didn't have to toss anything up, since the ramp was level with the metal double doors that allowed access to the compactors. Once I was parked, I started unloading the trash, pulling out 2 bags at a time and tossing them inside. When I unloaded about half the truck bed, I stepped over to the control panel for the compactor, inserted my key, and turned it. The compactor started up, and I watched as the large metal wedge extended out, pushing all the trash back into the body of the compactor. I stepped back to the truck and grabbed 2 more bags of trash. And as I pulled them off, I uncovered a woman's face. I jumped, dropping both bags next to my feet. The woman stared at me with blank eyes. I thought she was dead, but then she spoke. "Help! He's trying to kill me." I stood there, dumbfounded, trying to comprehend what she just said. And then there was a scuffling sound behind me. Pain erupted as something hard hit me in the head, and my world went blurry. I stumbled, tripping over one of the bags of garbage, falling to the floor next to the open compactor. Reaching up with one hand, I felt the back of my head. There was a gash there, and my fingers came away bloody. My eyes kept going in and out of focus. The man who hit me was dressed in dark blue coveralls. He had a black mask pulled up over his nose, like a robber in an old western. He stepped up to the back of the truck as the woman screamed. He had a foot-long length of pipe in his hand. He raised it to strike the woman, but I kicked at the trash bag I tripped over, sending it into his leg. There was no way it hurt him, but it drew his attention and kept him from hitting the woman. For a moment, I tried to get up, but it was no use. Something was wrong with me. My arms didn't want to work. My legs barely did. The man kicked the trash bag away and stepped over to me. He raised the pipe. I raised my hands in front of my face, knowing they would do little good. Behind him, the woman suddenly appeared at the back of the truck. She screamed in anger as she swung a heavy bag at the man, who turned just in time to get hit in the face with it. Apparently, the woman put all she had into it, because the man stumbled backward toward me. I stiffened my body where I lay. The man's heels hit me, and he fell backward, right into the open compactor. "The key!" I said. The woman was already on it. She turned the key, and the compactor came to life. The man scrambled up out of the way of the metal wedge, but the woman was ready for that as well. She picked up one of the trash bags I dropped and threw it at the man before he could get fully out. He fell back in, and a moment later, started screaming as the compactor crushed him against the wall of trash inside. The psych ward was quiet as I made my first rounds of the night. The doors to the patient rooms were arrayed on the left side of the hall. The right side had windows that looked out across a modest courtyard. Across the way, I could see the windows of the opposite hallway. Pale moonlight streamed through the windows, adding illumination to the half-lighting that the hospital always used at night. As a psychiatric technician, my job was to check on the patients once every hour at night. If there was something wrong that I couldn't take care of, I would contact the registered nurse back at the nursing station near the elevators, and we would deal with the issue together. I had my clipboard in hand as I came to the first patient room on my left, peering in through the small wire-covered window in the door. The patient was asleep in his bed. Everything looked okay. I recorded this down on my sheet and moved on to the next room. Same scene, sleeping patient, room in order. Record and move on. I stepped up to the next window and came face to face with a woman standing there, staring out the window. I jumped, laughed briefly, and then regained my composure. "Aren't you tired, miss?" I checked the clipboard. "Taylor?" She made no answer. Her pale eyes appeared yellow in the low light, and her dark hair was long and stringy. Her face shone with sweat. This was a new arrival, so I hadn't yet met her. "My name is Russell Winston," I said, smiling. "You can call me Russ." "It's coming for me," she said in a low voice. "I can see it." I was about to answer her by asking if she needed anything, but she suddenly broke out into laughter. The suddenness of the outburst surprised me, but not more than the lack of humor in her eyes. And soon enough, the laughter turned to sobs. "Go," she said, between sobs. "It's coming." She stepped back and pointed out the window. I looked where she was pointing, glancing out the window that overlooked the courtyard. And across the way, on the other side of the floor, I saw an impossibly tall and long-limbed figure moving down the hall. It was so tall, I couldn't see its head because it was above the top of the window. My mouth dropped open as I watched the figure disappear behind the wall. Moments later, it reappeared at the next window in line. It was heading this way. "It's coming!" the woman screamed. "It's coming!" Unable to believe my own eyes, I walked quickly down to the intersecting hallway, sure I'd seen nothing more than the RN making her rounds. I felt certain that what I'd seen across the courtyard was just a person's shadow. I stood staring down the dark hallway. My heart thudded in my chest as I waited. And then the figure turned the corner. It wasn't just a person. Its skin was dark gray, and it didn't have eyes in its head. The only feature it had on its head was a massive mouth that started at its forehead and traveled vertically all the way down its neck to its collarbone. The eyes were set into the front of the thing's shoulders, and there were 4 of them, 2 in each shoulder. As soon as it saw me, its mouth opened and it released a demonic shriek while a massive, pointed tongue flapped out. Its long legs started churning as it bent over and ran toward me, using its long arms to help it along, like a gorilla running on all 4s. I dropped my clipboard and ran back the way I'd come, flashing past Miss Taylor, who was screaming and crying. Turning the corner at the end of the hallway, I screamed for the RN, Wendy, to call the police. She looked up from the computer as I approached at a run. "Call the police!" I said again. "There's something in here!"
What's all the screaming about?
Wendy said. Another of those demonic shrieks sounded, along with a bang, like a door being broken open.
What's going on?
Wendy yelled, getting up and running toward the sound. I grabbed her arm, but she wrenched it away and ran to the end of the hall, looking down toward Miss Taylor's room. The noise had stopped after the bang. Now the ward was silent. I moved up behind Wendy and looked at the hall. Miss Taylor's door was open, barely hanging from the frame by bent hinges. That was enough for Wendy to believe me. We ran back to the nurse's station and called the police. But they never found Miss Taylor. She was gone. And, of course, the security cameras malfunctioned, leaving no evidence of the intruder. I was later fired because I refused to change my story. They wanted a logical explanation, one I didn't have. But that was just fine with me. I didn't want to work in that hospital anymore anyway. "I'm gonna kill you, boy." The man whispers this in my ear, leaning close. We're standing just inside the store's security towers, the kind that detect any activated tags that pass through them. The shoplifter is one of the last customers of the night. It's 11:55 p.m., and we close the used record store at midnight. We sell everything from records and CDs to DVDs and Blu-rays to Funko Pops and T-shirts. Despite the digital age, the store does pretty well. Of course, part of that is the paltry wage they pay workers like me. I'm a tall guy at 6'3", but I'm not particularly muscular or anything. Still, because I'm tall and, some say, a little intimidating, I'm the de facto security guy. Anytime someone sets the security towers off, all heads look to me to come deal with it. Of course, I have no authority to do anything. If someone sets off the alarm and decides to book it out the front door, we have to let them go. We're never supposed to chase someone. Not that I would. I'm not going to risk my life for a $30 Blu-ray. Not when I don't even make $30 for 2 hours of work. But since I'm the security guy, I'm used to people talking to me once in a while. He's just trying to rattle me. Still, the way he says he's going to kill me sends chills up my spine. "Listen, man," I say. "If you have something, just give it up, and you can go on your way. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get the police involved." There are 2 other employees working. One of them, a petite, tattooed girl who's barely 19. The other one is a wispy music nerd guy who probably weighs 100 pounds. The shoplifter makes no response to the threat. He just stands there, staring at me. And that's what makes this encounter so unnerving. The store is located in a part of town with lots of foot traffic. And where there's foot traffic, there's homeless people. Some of them have psychological problems, and they wander into the store every so often. But I'm not afraid of them. They're harmless, for the most part. This guy is clearly not homeless, nor does he strike me as harmless. He wears black slacks and dress shoes with a white-collared shirt. He doesn't wear a tie or jacket, but I bet both items are in his car out in the parking lot. Probably a Lexus or something. He looks like a normal, successful guy in his late 30s. Probably prides himself on being an alpha or some shit. "You're not going to give it up?" I ask. "Fine. Hey, Raymond, call the police." Raymond, the music nerd, is behind the line of registers. He nods and picks up one of the store phones. "I'll be waiting for you," the shoplifter says to me before walking through the security towers. The towers beep as he passes through. Then he's out the door and into the mostly empty parking lot. Raymond puts the phone down and we share a look. "Damn," he says. "That guy was intense." I nod and shrug it off, getting back to work. But every chance I get, I glance out the front windows, and I see the guy standing there next to a luxury sedan, staring at the store. When we're finished with the closing list, the 3 of us gather at the front door. The guy is still out there, leaning on his car, waiting. I don't see a weapon in his hand, but that doesn't mean anything. "Should we call the police for real?" Raymond asks. I shake my head. "I'm just going to hurry to my truck and leave," I tell him. Despite being a little creeped, I don't think the guy will actually chase me down or anything. I think he just wants to scare me. Well, mission accomplished. Raymond usually drives Meredith home, so I tell them to get going. They walk out the door and head toward Raymond's little red Prius. I watch them go, getting ready to put the alarm code in before I leave. The shoplifter shouts something at the two teenagers, but I can't hear what it is from inside. It doesn't matter. The important thing is he's not messing with them. After setting the alarm code, I lock the door and turn to hurry toward my old truck where it's parked near a broken street lamp in the lot. Then I realize the guy is no longer at his car. He's nowhere to be seen. He must have made his move when I was locking the door. F this, I say to myself, tossing away all tough guy pretenses. I sprint for my truck, keys in hand. And as I come around to the driver's side, the man pops up from his hiding spot. He has a pistol in his hand. I stop because the guy is between me and my truck door. Maybe I can reason with him. Hey man, it's nothing personal, you know? I'm just doing my job. His eyes fixed on me. The man brings the barrel of the gun up and scratches his temple with it. He laughs. It's a snorting sound, entirely without humor. I've been waiting for the perfect moment for a long time, he says. For the perfect hole to start my killing with. And as soon as you stopped me in there, I knew today was the day. I knew because of you. As soon as I saw your stupid smug face, I knew. He points the gun at me, his finger slipping into the trigger guard. I wince, holding my hands up, as if that will help. You're dead, boy. There's a sudden screeching of tires, and a little red sedan comes blasting out of the pool of shadow next to my truck. Its front bumper snaps the shoplifter's legs and then crushes him against the side of my truck as the two vehicles collide. The gun clatters to the asphalt. The shoplifter is screaming as the sound of shattering glass and twisting metal subsides. His hips are crushed, and he pushes against the crumpled hood of Raymond's Prius. Raymond gets out of the car, looking surprised at what he's done. He looks at me over the roof. He said he was going to do it. When we came outside, he said he was going to kill you, just like that. I'm going to kill your friend. I had to do something. I had to. I couldn't just let you die. I nod. You saved my ass. But where's Meredith? Raymond gestures toward the edge of the parking lot, and I see Meredith walking over, talking on the phone with 911, no doubt. The shoplifter stops screaming, but only because there's now blood pouring out of his mouth. He looks over at me and lifts one hand, making a pistol out of his thumb and forefinger. Then he falls against the Prius's hood, dead. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and smash that like button to get notified every time I upload a new video. You can also check out some more of my animated horror stories right here.